4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, hello, hello. Beautiful afternoon here in Malaysia. And if you are watching from Europe or South Africa, then it's morning for you. Welcome at the Global Empowerment Summit. Here I am with Andreas, Dorn, and Jassmine. Hi, Andreas. Hi, Jassmine. How are you today?
Hi. I'm doing fine. Wonderful. And thank you for having me and Jassmine in the show.
It's really honored to be here. I'm excited.
It's quite nice. We are all excited, and the technology allowed us to go online again, which I'm very, very thankful for. And then I'm starting always with a little bit of introduction of the people who are in the show. First of all, if Andreas, you allow me, Jassmine, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Jassmine? But I mean, not your work. Something more specific about what you like to do. Where do you would like to travel when everything is opening up? What's your favorite food? Something personal.
All right, sure. Hello, everyone. For those who are listening, so I'm Jassmine, and I think one word to describe me is that I'm a creative person. I like to incorporate creativity in anything that I do, be it the way I dress or with this type of music that I listen to work. I think it hypes me up most of the time, and I like to incorporate that with my basic thinking abilities. So that is how I would like to describe myself as a creative and a thinky kind of person. And I like to see how these two qualities bring out the wonders in anything that I do or the world around me. Yeah, so that's a little about me. I like rock music and I play the drums. Two interesting things about me. Yeah, over to you, Andreas.
Thank you.
Well, I like rock music as well.
No, a lot of alignment here. Very, very nice.
Absolutely. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm asking people, we are talking about the young and the old or the wise, okay? You didn't want to mention old, okay? If you do know the group Queen, Jassmine, do you know the Queen?
Yes.
Okay, better, you better say yes, otherwise we would have a trouble already, okay? Because if you say you like rock music, then you have to have the Queen somewhere.
Yeah, we could play some Queen, but sadly, with the copyright issues, it's really hard to play my favorite music all the time. So
Absolutely, I get that as well.
Hi, Charm. Charm is saying rock music and playing drums. Very nice. Thank you for the support. So, Andreas, your turn. Tell us a little bit more about Andreas. Who is Andreas?
Well, yes, I'm Andreas. I'm a German. I'm from Germany, of course, but I'm living in Asia and Malaysia since 1993, giving away my age already. Came to Malaysia, fall in love with the country, with the people, with the work I did. Decided to stay, and ever since, just live it. Love Malaysian food. It's the best food in the world, according to my humble opinion. It's not necessarily the healthiest one, but who cares sometimes, okay? Taste it all, what it is, okay? And the champur, putting everything together, just awesome. What do I like? Well, I like to play around with video, with technical stuff, and I'm training people also in helping them break through their own limiting beliefs. I like to do jogging quite a bit, jogging, but not just running the rounds, but I'm living in a 13th floor apartment, so my hobby, so to speak, is to run up every floor all the way across the aisle, next floor up all the way across the aisle, and in between every floor I do 2 to 3 to 4 burpees.
Wow, that's amazing.
I
would love to try that. But I live on the 18th, so I don't know whether I could make it to the 18th.
Just do it, okay? It's just a number.
I will let you know. I will let you know next time when I'm doing it. And I just love your almost racing car seats, and the quality of your camera is just amazing.
Yay, silent promotion. I bought a chair just before MCO, and I had a plastic chair, and then MCO was coming close, MCO 1.0, and I thought, like, most likely I have to sit a lot, so I better get a good chair. So I ordered a chair very quickly from Lazada. It was one of my first orders from Lazada, followed by many orders in the meantime.
So we have a long time together to explore a lot of things about our topic, which is limiting beliefs and how to become more confident. And it's an interesting setup with you. And I thought that you are interested in so many things. And Jassmine is such a curious person that I wanted to put you together to go around this topic together. So I silently go in the backstage and get the audience come and join us. And in between, let's start and kickstart this conversation with the definitions first. Okay, so what is limiting belief and what is confidence? Let's start from that angle.
Ladies first, Jassmine, you go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I have to think, that's why I have to think. So you go ahead.
No worries. So I could start off with limiting beliefs first. I think at the frontier of my mind, two words come in mind when I think of the word limiting belief, which is fear and guilt. I think they both come hand in hand because fear, there's a lot of we are most of the time as human beings, we're always afraid of judgment and what would people say about us. And the other notion, guilt comes a lot from people pleasing, and most often than not, we if you were to want to voice out an opinion or to even point out a notion or a statement, we always sort of like think about if the message is going to be heard from another person, and if we don't, we feel guilty that it didn't get across. But it's all context. It's basically how you view it, and so that's why fear and guilty comes hand in long to limiting belief, right? And then we have the other spectrum, self-confidence. Wow, okay, so I just love the word confidence itself because I'm all hyped up. But I guess, sorry, I can think of one word to define confidence, which is basically acceptance. Loving who you are, yourself, everything that comes along with it, be it the way you look, the way you speak, the way you articulate, and everything along that comes along with acceptance. And that for me is being confident. Right. Yes. So over to you, Andreas.
You say so many things. I have no paper in front of me, but I just grabbed a pen and an envelope from Germany. So to scribble down notes, which I love the points. Now, coming from my world of mind management, helping people break through, I would slightly define limiting beliefs differently. What you mentioned, fear and guilt, to me are kind of negative emotions that hold us back. They are positive, they are good, of course. No emotion is bad or good overall. But if it's an emotion coming from the past, installed inside of us in the past because of certain things like whatever, I can't present, and then you presented one day and it went terribly haywire, and then you got a fear of presenting. That's a fear from the past. It doesn't mean that you have to remove the fear of in the future, because then you would go onto the street, Chalanton Rastak, whatever, say, hooray, no more fear, yay. That's a useful fear. That's a fear there, and every emotion's got a positive intention, meaning fear might also have the intention of protecting you. But what we don't need is a fear from the past installed in the past. Guilt is the same thing overall. What is a limiting belief? A limiting belief is kind of, maybe I would even describe it as disempowering belief. I first of all believe, that's just my belief right now, talking about beliefs already, that children don't have beliefs, don't believe in anything, don't have negative emotions. They just be themselves. They just want to do it. And then somehow along that line, through education, society, parents, whatever it is, they're installing, first of all, negative emotions and limiting beliefs. And they come hand in hand. So many times a limiting belief is installed if we fear something very negative is happening right now. Like, for example, let's say primary school kid is standing up saying something in school and messes it up somehow along that line, can't open the mouth, can't explain the point. Teacher makes a strange remark, friends start giggling and laughing about that person, boom, a fear is installed, and a limiting belief comes in and says like, gosh, I can't present, I'm just not good in doing this, I will never stand up again. So this little self-talk that we are starting installing. And that is, first of all, a decision that we are making first. They're like, I never want to stand up in front of the class again and say something. And the first time it's a decision. And then maybe a second time is something happening, and a third time is something happening, and a fourth time is something happening. We are initially doing it very consciously, and sooner or later it starts to sink into our so-called subconscious mind and becomes the lens through which we are running through life, saying like, I'm not good in presenting. I'm not good as a person. I'm just not. I just suck in standing in front of people and whatever it is. So that becomes a lens of how we as an older person then run through the world. And we have no idea the frame that we are looking through, the lens we are looking through in evaluating situation around us. Whoops. That's what I believe overall as a limiting belief. And the negative emotion is, well, it can happen through many different things. It suddenly happens when something negative is happening and we are feeling a strange emotion coming up. Initially, we don't even know what it is as a kid until maybe a parent says, hey, Jassmine, look at Jassmine. She looks so scared. And suddenly you as a little baby or a little toddler say, oh, that feeling I don't like, that's called fear. Yeah. Or your relative is saying, look how she's laughing so happily. She's really, really a happy girl. And you're saying like, oh, that awesome feeling I always so much appreciate. That's called happiness. And from that point onwards, you know what's happiness. And you go around to tell people, you are happy, I'm happy, hooray, hooray, hooray. Then we have a label for something. That's just me talking about here right now. What do you think?
I feel really contented by those words, Andreas. I think it really describes, it helps elevate another person and gives them that sort of assurance that, okay, it's okay to be, sometimes being overly happy or overly, filled with joy, it can be looked upon as being called weird and in a negative way. But when someone were to give that sort of assurance to another person, it simultaneously builds their confidence, and they in other way accept themselves, because someone else is acknowledging them for being themselves, and it's great. So, and yeah, that's what I think.
But why do you need somebody to assure you? When you say it right now, for example, somebody says to you, oh, it's weird when you are so happy. That is like evaluating yourself from somebody else's perspective. Mm-hmm. So I think what you mentioned earlier, self-esteem, confidence is about knowing who you are as a person and be authentic around that one.
I think it's the environment and the people that are around us and who do we surround ourselves with is giving us that assurance. Definitely, assurance comes from within. If we can't really see ourselves for who we are from the inside, how it wouldn't be exactly fair to solely depend about another person inflicting their opinions on us. It's completely contradicting. But I think if we're surrounded with the environment with the right people, and if they are giving us that sort of assurance, then I think it just adds on to the wagon. Like, it's amazing.
Yes, I have to say something else again, okay? But first, I think we can also take a look around and see who's actually here. Sham is giving great summaries. I totally appreciate that. Okay, you're taking lots of notes apparently. Hello, Santi, and who else is here? Yes, Andrea, of course, and you and Mila. I have no idea what I wanted to say anymore right now. You mentioned environment, okay? And people always say it's the environment which imprints onto us, which is true overall, okay? Which is true. And we are learning to interact with the environment. But, oh yes, Chaka Tiswari, also good.
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, okay? I believe, people always say like the environment is influencing us. But again, coming from the NLP point of view, I think you should in the environment is nothing wrong with the environment. An environment can influence us. If I'm in a happy environment with an open, hey Angela, with an open space around me, sunshine, bright light, and whatever, it makes me feel happier most likely compared if I were in a prison cell, dark hole, no window, whatever. That would definitely influence me as well. Still, I believe very strongly that no matter what environment is around us, it is what we are doing inside of our mind in framing it overall. Because some people might say a dark environment helps me to get inspired, less distracted. For example, could be as well. It's a frame we're having around it. And, and I want to say, it's who you think your identity should define how you interact with the environment. That's what I think. So no matter what environment you are in, you are deciding who do you want to be in that environment. In alignment with the environment as well, of course, because if I were to come into Malaysia way back in 1993 and say, like, I am a German and I formed the environment of Malaysia according to my own needs, then I would be more of a conqueror, of course. But I need to say, who am I as a person and how do I want to interact with the environment called Malaysia around it? That's what I think is important. Why is my earphone dropping out of my ears all the time today? So John was saying, children, people have positive validation from family and friends, but why do they persist in limiting belief that's strangely more attractive in a negative way? Okay, you wanted to say something right now, Jassmine, because you raised
Sorry,
your hand.
yeah. So used to
Like
doing
in school.
I know,
I'm not a
right?
teacher, okay?
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. So I had a following up question with regards to interacting with the environment based on our self identities. Um, do we, in your opinion, Andreas, do we? I know sometimes we don't consciously choose the environment that we end up in, but are we supposed to reframe, probably polish up our identity before thinking about the environment that we wish to attract? Because basically, how we are, our environment sort of like reflects us as a person. So does the work have to be from an internal perspective, or do we
I think
just
so.
rely and see? Yeah.
I think so. The environment is just the environment. It's just information. But let's say, for example, do you like to present in front of an audience?
Sort of. Sort of.
Okay.
I think it's a way of
Okay. So
expressing.
there are many people who don't like to present. But it's just a presentation. It's just information overall. So some people frame that situation, presentation in front of an audience inside their mind as negative and saying like, I don't like to be I am identity statement. I am not good in that, in presenting, compared to somebody else who says like, it's just an environment. I like to present. It's just an environment. So how do you think about something forms ultimately your behavior and your results and your state of mind, of course. So that's what I strongly want to believe. And if you realize something is that you don't like around you, then it's something to learn about you.
That is true. That is quite true.
I
I
hope.
see that.
So how do you interact with environments? Jassmine, I mean, you are younger, right? You're younger than me. That's why we put together. Okay, here's the old horse, and there the young lady, the old bull or whatever. I don't know. I'm saying rubbish right now. Okay, so what? I'm curious always in interacting with younger generations. Or what are the limitations you feel as a youngster right now?
I think by default, right? As a young chap like me, stepping out into the real world out there are just so many things to extract and learn from, and along with this knowledge and this hunger for knowledge that we are seeking, definitely, if we want the answers to be laid out, we would need to step out of our comfort zone and ask or interact with the right people. And sometimes, we may not have the courage coming from I'm just giving an instance from my past in university and whatnot. There were just so many queries on my end, and I was,
So many what?
very afraid. Sorry,
So many
queries,
what?
questions. There were
Of course, inquiries.
queries,
Okay,
thoughts,
okay, okay,
questions. Yeah, so
okay.
and they were really mind-boggling. And I guess in the environment that I was in then, with my peers, the angle that we were looking at, that we were all simultaneously looking at, was towards the academic point of view, and everything that I did or do was relating back to the books. If it's not in there, then it doesn't really serve a purpose, or something somewhere around the line. So sometimes, like I said, we are really hungry to learn, and we want to sort of like step out of our comfort zone to ask the right questions to the right people, and it could be the maybe it could be a self-limiting belief then, like if I don't have the right amount of credentials or the experience, how can I learn or gain insights from an expert, like yourself, Andreas, or many others out there back then, right? And I realized by I did it anyway. Like I pushed out of my comfort zone and still sought the answers. And I realized my environment around me then, as I was seeking the answers, they changed subconsciously. Like I was finding people who were giving me answers. I had some of my seniors as well interacting with me, and we would often have discussions such as these. And I guess it from the inner strength that I had then to to sort of like create the environment that I thought I needed in a way.
That's it. You
Oh,
said
okay.
something so important right now, Jasmine. You create the environment. So basically, you step up and say, like, I want to create what I want to have. So you could have been a person as well sitting there and saying, like, okay, I don't have the credentials, and they're also senior, and they don't want to talk to me anyway, which would have been all limiting beliefs overall. And you said, like, I don't want to give a curse word here right now. But you say, like, I want to know. Books are not enough. Hey, you're reading books, amazing. Okay, it's a dying thing in the meantime, I believe. And you said, like, oh, I want to interact, and I want to know, and I want to ask a question. And that's, I think, is so important. So basically, it comes from yourself, from your own inner drive to make it happen, ultimately. And that is what you need to identify. If you're saying, like, okay, this is holding me back right now, this is what I don't want to have, or this is like limiting me right now, it starts with the awareness about it and saying, like, but I want to have it differently. Let's make it happen and change it.
I see.
And overcome the face of, which I think is a bit strange as a statement, face the fear and get over it ultimately.
It becomes easy after a while, though it being difficult at first. I think
Everything becomes easier in the beginning.
easy over
Okay.
time, right?
Hey, look, last year, everything becomes easier first time around. First time around walking was not easy, right? First time around writing your name was not easy. First time around, I remember when I was learning math, just comes to my mind right now, recently thought about that, how frustrated I was because I couldn't understand multiplication. I just didn't get it, okay? And I remember my mom was teaching me and a best friend of mine, and we were in front of the washing machine, and he got it instantly. That is like a strange, I could have made a decision, and maybe I made the decision because I was never really good in math. Before I was good in addition and subtraction. And he got it totally multiplication until I finally understood it. And I was really, really happy as a little kid who at that point of time, maybe 8 or 9 years old in primary school. And then once I got it, I loved it overall. But I remember that situation. So it is oftentimes, we are experiencing something and many people give up and just don't try further, not realizing how many times in our life have we done something similar before. And we have the resources within us to succeed, I believe. And you mentioned something like, hey, you need to create your environment according to how you want it. Basically, you need to look at it. And I saw a video by, what's the name? Dr. Joe, I don't know, whatever. He said, like, yeah, all these great people, like Steve Jobs, for example, or John, he mentioned John Dark, or Wright brothers, or Martin Luther King, or whoever it is. Or let's say the Google people, for example, who created Google. They knew what they wanted to have. Look at the Google people. They could have given up when they started to think about how to create Google. What did we have at that point of time? We had, and maybe you don't even remember that maybe. We had Yahoo, we had Alta Vista, we had Ask Jeeves, we had Excite.com, we had in Malaysia Catcho, whatever stuff, .com. They could have said, like, gosh, why do we want to create a search engine? It wouldn't succeed anyway, because there's so much competition around already as well. They had in their mind what they wanted to create, and then they created it despite everything. They hold in their mind the future they want to have. And then they step out into the environment and make it happen ultimately. And I think that's important. Muhammad Ali is mentioned here. Okay, let's just check out some of the questions here, shall we, Jassmine?
Yes, we
Okay,
shall.
hold on, because some people are saying that, okay, children don't have limiting beliefs initially, just until the rest of us install it. Yeah, parents do their best they can, but they're coming out with their own belief as well. If I have a kid, or I've got a kid, of course, I remember my kid, he's now 24 years old, but we are getting into education of how we learned it from our parents. And then we are messing it up because the time is also very different, of course. What question do we have? Okay, Sham is asking, children, people may have a positive validation from fans or family, but why do they persist in limiting beliefs? Is it strangely more attractive in a negative way? Do you want to answer that?
So I missed out the question again.
I caught you there
Those-
because you took so busy notes, so I caught you there. La. Children, people may have positive validation from family or friends, but why do they persist in limiting beliefs? Is it more strangely more attractive in a negative way? I could say something about it, but I want to give you space.
yeah. I have like just one thought about this. It could be because of the fear that's inflicted in them. It could be from a situation where they did something wrong and they sort of like were not told why, but instead of it could be like emotional blackmail or a punishment that they would receive after an incident that had happened. And I think doing so, with them not really knowing why, and being afraid to even point out or ask the question, they dwell on it, they dwell on the answers, and over time it just eats them up from the inside. And if at all the situation were to happen again, it could be in your school or in university. It's a repeating cycle itself, and the response would be the same. Not say anything, because then it would be a different kind of causation. They would just eat it up and continue living like this, and it is it could be like a subconscious habit, a habit that has been developed from a really long time, and they may not exactly know how do they break from the cycle unless someone were to help point it out to them, and speak from their stance, like
They
being their
might not
shoes.
even know it, right? They might not even know it. Most people are not aware. We're always talking about beliefs, but we are not aware
Not aware.
of those overall, how they frame our experience, right? And Shama, just one thing I want to share with you, it's not necessarily always, it is an experience somebody has to install a limiting belief. It's an experience, definitely, that you are making the decision in your mind, I'm good or I am bad, whatever in that situation or whatever you think at that point of time. But what can happen is, and that's a sad fact, I don't want to belittle teachers or parents or whatever, but it could be, for example, we all know, and Jassmine, not Sham, Jassmine, you most likely know that as well. The teachers in school or in kindergarten or in your work right now, they might say one thing, just one sentence, one word, and that can build you up beyond anything. So you become really like, wow, outrageously good, and it forms you for the rest of your life. Or it could be the one statement which shatters somebody's confidence, self-esteem, that person never ever recovers from it. And that person saying it might not even know what happened. Even that person experienced it might not even know that this straight away got inside and became
Exactly.
that limiting belief. I could tell you a story about somebody I'm coaching right now, but it's too close to recent, so I can't do it. But it was one word that influenced that person, and it's like was becoming an accumulation of negative experience along that line. 2 words actually, and that is a terrible part. It's very scary because it requires us as parents, as friends, as anyone to really, really, really watch out how we speak to other people. How do we interact with other people around us? Become careful about the words, because words can kill.
Exactly. So in your opinion, Andreas, like how do we instill or start off somewhere with instilling this habit, right, of identifying and being able to express to a kid who is experiencing as such. If we would obviously have to train ourselves to start noticing the patterns, and that may not come in easy, because for those who have not attempted it, it could be a deliberate change, and sometimes change isn't all that easy. So how would you a word or two to address this?
It's hard. It's really, really hard because most of us operate from a level we are not out of conscious awareness. So we are blabbering away. We are saying something, and we don't know that impact that a person has. We can always have the best intention overall beyond. But it depends also, of course. Let me share with you two stories. One is my personal stories, and one that I realized as well. And it's really about coming from NLP directly. And I want to hear more from you. I'm blabbering too much here. But
No, it's
when
fine.
my
Go ahead. Yeah, we're really
when
looking
my
forward to hear.
when my son was still studying, the favorite story I tell in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is saying behind every behavior is a positive intention. Behind every behavior is a positive intention. Positive intention. So here I was in my office training people in NLP. My son was at that point of time still in school studying, and getting ready for what is it called, SPM at that point of time still. And every now and then I walked out from the training room because I got a restroom or we had a break or whatever it is. And I see my son studying, but I also see him playing computer games. He just loves computer games. So luckily he was exposed from my wife. Natra is also an NLP trainer. So he's educated enough to be able to stand up towards us. And he can stand up, and we have to tolerate his parents, of course, But here I come as a parent with the best intention. And what do I do as a father, knowing my son needs to study for SPM, but plays computer game? I nag. Nagging. Parents are good in nagging, okay? But my highest positive intention was I care for my son. I love my son. I care for my son. I do know what happened in the world. I do understand how important it is to interact with people, to study and to be good somewhere along that line and get some good grades, at least some good grades. So I nagged, but my positive intention was caring. Now, my son, luckily, was good enough standing up toward me. He said, like, Papa, you don't even know how much I studied already. Luckily. Now, what? Okay. He said, how much I have studied already. I just want to have a break and play computer games. His positive intention for playing computer games was to relax, maybe, to get a mental space for the next topic to study. Now, here we are as a person, and really listen carefully. It's so important. When I learned it, it changed my life. When we are saying something to other people, when I say something to you, Jassmine, I somehow hope that you, whom I speak to, understands my positive intention. I nag, my positive intention is caring. So please understand my positive intention, blah, 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 okay? But we fail to understand the person we are speaking to and why do they do what they do, their positive intention. So I come from a position of caring to my son, but I failed to understand he wants to relax. So it's for us to train ourselves up before we judge somebody, or before we do something, or before we get into an argument, or before we correct somebody, whatever it is. Come from a statement, here's my intention, that is why I'm saying it. What is your intention of playing computer games? What is your intention of lazing around right now? What is your intention of loitering? What is your intention of driving a car fast? What is your intention of ... fill out the blanks. To understand, to bring the conversation at a very much higher level. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I think it's very, very important.
I think it comes hand in hand with active listening, and to really listen to what they are trying to tell us, because most often than not, we are unconsciously quick to judge, especially if we hear certain triggering words, and these might cause certain triggers within ourselves as well, and there goes the intention is lost. No one really understands why is the point being brought out in the first place. And by really listening, I think the intention would come out clear on its own, especially like what you said. Understanding is very much needed from both parties, I feel. But it takes practice, and it takes a lot of training, both from like yourself, the adult perspective, and you know
The
um,
adult perspective. Thank
yeah,
you
the
very much.
adult perspective, the wise
The wise
generation.
person to room here. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Like,
yeah, but when you are interacting, do you have experience when you are interacting with people? Especially, I mean, you mentioned last week when we had a quick chat that you just started to work, for example. What are some of the limitations you feel in the work environment right now?
so I think it is not just at the workplace, but almost in some of the organizations that I'm in, or like in my own family, for instance. And the persistent thing that oftentimes happen is that the objective, we both, me and the other party, have our own objectives to sort of point out, and none of us are coming to a balanced scale, to an even perspective. So it was really hard to hear what they were trying to say. At the same time, I was trying to bring out certain points from my end onto the table, and it was like a complete seesaw effect. No one was getting anywhere until I trained myself to sort of, like I mentioned earlier, the other point that I mentioned, was to actively listen and to try to be present, right, and not think about myself for the time being, and to try
Hmm.
to see what the person is communicating. And through that, I sort of like understood what the objective was and connected it with mine, and that was how we achieved that balance skill. So this is a skill that I learned over time, and it was really difficult at first, because most often than not, wouldn't really voice out until I was given the opportunity. But at the same time, there's another fighting spirit in me. Like, no, I see something that's wrong, and I gotta point it out, because if that doesn't happen, A is gonna happen, or B is gonna happen, and it's just not gonna do us any good. Why don't you want to listen to me? And it's an inner conflict that is could be unnecessary if I had learned how to listen, and that is a good practice that I established to achieve that
Which is
balance.
an amazing skill to have. Listening skill is it's a really amazing skill because most people pretend to listen, but they are
Not, yeah.
formulating more or less a counter argument in their head overall. And I think what you described is like walking in the shoes of someone else, isn't it? Being able to see
Yes.
the world through their own eyes. Where are they coming from? And how I like to do that sometimes, saying like, okay, how is that person looking at me right now? So if I would be the other person, how would I see myself?
Myself. So,
Yeah. Or how would somebody else outside observe me right now? And I know people call it perceptual position. So how would somebody else perceive myself, perceive me overall, and how would that influence me?
understand. But yeah, Andreas, I have another following up question about this. So does this mean that we would have to consciously, before approaching a person, to ensure that all our check boxes are ticked before even bringing out a point? Would that cause a certain? It could be an overthinking. It could be leading to overthinking, because we wouldn't want. Some of us may not be really comfortable with confrontation, and we just want to avoid all sorts of awkwardness, and so we tend to analyze, I think, and make sure all our boxes are ticked before even you know bringing it out there.
What do
And
you think? What do you think? Yeah, exactly, Sham. Just empathy, having the empathy. But what do you think you shall do?
I think, in my humble opinion, I think it really depends on the situation and the
See,
people that I'm speaking to. I could be
see.
wrong.
No, but I think it's always very important to respect another person's point of view, not necessarily accepting them. But I think one of the most important skills you can always have when somebody has a different point of view, because we all are unique. Okay, there's nobody similar to you or to me overall. We all very very different. There's nobody exactly your
Alike.
duplicate. Not even your twin would be the same as you. So the only skill you can have, basically, and if somebody has got a different point of view, is be curious about them and be curious where are they coming from actually, and asking as many questions as you can. And I
It's
think
basically,
curiosity is one of the greatest skills you can teach what kids have overall. Little babies, little toddlers, they have this curiosity about something, and they want to have it. Somehow along that line they forget it. I don't know where it's gone, but to be curious about situations, be curious about people, to be curious about what's going on inside of you or around you, it could be wow, is the most important skill to learn.
It's amazing to see how their borders are open, when we allow them to sort of creatively express themselves in different ways. Toddlers could even be throwing blocks, but it's just a sign of them trying to communicate with us in their own ways. So and
Because they have the limitation, don't know how. So for them, the only outcome they have, or the only ability to have something, is a tantrum or throwing a block. and how do we react? We shout and scream.
oh no.
What is on? We have a question here. Are we there yet? What's this? How does this work? Why is it blue? Oh, she's asking questions. Andreas asking that. Are we there yet? What's this? How does it work? Why is it blue? That's a question. Be curious overall. Yeah, and driving the parents up the wall along that line or in the car,
Oh, okay, makes
I'm
sense.
like, what's going on? I
What's
thought.
going on?
She's asking the question. Yeah. So, what do you think is you see in nowadays world right now, how can you, I believe youngster, the older one, the wiser one, the older ones can learn a lot from the youngsters, totally. Because maybe we are too structured already, even so we have experienced many negative situations or collapses of economy, crises, maybe some wars, depends on how old you are. But what is the one thing, do you think, can people like you in your age group actually help, first of all, people in my age group or even organizations to break through, to understand what's going on, to manage at a different level, especially now when we're getting back to the normal life after COVID, maybe. What do you think?
I think it's a really great question, Andreas. I would like to quote back a thing or two you said about respecting their opinions prior to making any judgment or opinions, because in the end, right, respect is what matters, and that ignites a mutual collaboration, right? Because respect is gained from both ends. I think the one way that can be done is to reflect and probably me as a person, I would give myself as an example. What I would do is understanding them for who they are, understand what their opinions are, probably do a little background check or research, and come up with my own study. So it is also relating back, really understand what am I trying to bring across, what outcome would I really want to be gaining
As a youngster right now, talking to an
as a youngster,
elderly person.
I did not say the word elderly.
No, that's me, okay. The wise people, okay.
Yeah, the wise people.
Oh.
So
Does it work? Does it
yeah,
work? Does it
it
work?
sort of works because we're trying to establish like a small win-win situation. We want both ends of the party to be heard and understood. So it also boils down to the willingness to accept what is being laid out from, like the wiser generation. But this is an approach what most of us, like from my peers and I, what we would like to do, right, is to before jumping on the wagon and providing so many ideas and just being all excited and pumped up to just point out everything that's there, hyped up and ongoing, we would also need to take a step back and to really analyze and see if this is the right way to bring across, and how would the other person react upon this statement that we bring. So that creates like a mutual understanding and a win-win situation. If that answers your question, Andreas.
Is that your wishful scenario that you're describing, or is it really happening? in an
It did happen
organization.
before.
It did happen at least once.
Yeah, at least once or twice.
Okay,
Couple
at
of
least
times.
something. Okay, at least something, because I mean, there's always like, it could be the perception of the wiser people that when someone new generation wilders come up basically and saying like, hey, I'm listening to you right now, how would that reflect on me in the rest of the team? She's so young, she has no experience, how come the boss is listening to her? So that could be that some wiser people cut you short because they just don't want to listen to you along that line, because hey, we have the credentials, we have the experience, we have the age, we have eaten more rice than you already.
And it has, the resistivity to change and to see things differently. Because change can be a challenge sometimes, and there is fear relating to that as well. If things
From your side, from the youngster side, isn't it?
I think it is not just from our end, but deliberately the situation as it is. How is it difficult to understand, right, from the younger generation like myself? And I think it's one of the underlying fears that the wiser generation have is the resistivity to change
So
and the
basically
fear.
we are scared of you.
You guys try to hide. I don't know. It could be.
No, you
It could
just
be
broke
that.
up. So sorry, you just broke up. Is it me, or was it? Is it you who's just was? I didn't hear the last sentence right now. And I said to you, "Hey, we are scared of you." What were you
Oh,
saying?
yeah. Can't quite remember what I said, but oh no. Okay, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, my
Uh,
point was basically, are we scared of you as youngsters?
oh yeah. Okay, I remember now. It could be a subconscious thing. It could be a subconscious thing, and unknowingly, it could be a little bit of ego as well. We don't know. It could be not just from the Y generation. It could be from our end as well, and there's a conflicting of interest in that sense. So it
True.
is an internal conflict, I guess.
I think it's, yes, I believe you're right, because so many people, first of all, they talk up that issue, Generation Y. That's how they are, and that forms beliefs. That forms like the general belief in the society. Gen Ylers are like that. You have no attention span. You are disloyal to organization. You don't know what you want. You just want to consume. There's a general belief about the Gen Ylers, maybe, which is very sad, because it's a world view around it, while it just simply means that you are different in your way of approaching things compared to what you could say the baby boomers or those who come after the baby boomers. They were, well, you could say they're stagnant, maybe because hey, they work for 20, 30, 40 years in the same organization. They don't like change. That would be the different limiting thinking about there. So you have that blocks of thinking, how generations can clash with each other. And understanding how you think about something, basically realizing as a baby boomer, I need to realize, for example, I strongly believe that what I'm saying next, and I think I mentioned it to you last week. We have baby boomers, we are supposed to be the ones who understand you better. Why do I say that? Because we have experienced more changes than you have already. We had different crises experiencing depending on how old you are right now. We had the financial meltdown in 1997. We had the credit crisis. What was it like in 2008? We have these crises experienced so many times already. So we should have learned to be flexible along that line in managing change. So here you come up as a Gen Yler. You are the new crisis for the older people, maybe. But we need to understand you. We should be able to manage you guys. While you don't have the experience, you are a blank slate. You just have the enthusiasm and the energy, and you want to have everything now. And you don't understand how come they move so slowly. So here's a platform of understanding each other. You bring the energy in, but we might have that thinking about if you bring that energy in and you're doing it like that, here are the crisis point here where it could collapse. So that is the learning from each other, I believe, what must actually happen. And when that is happening, everything goes higher.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. It also comes back to how we can like take a step back. I think as sorry, hello? Can
Yeah,
you hear
I'm
me?
here. I'm here still, okay?
Yeah.
She put you on modus.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah. So I think it boils back to how, as the younger generation, like me myself, it's really important to know that we need to hold back our horses sometime and take a step back and to see things from a different angle and not entirely from what is happening right now, but also take a step back and look at it from many angles, and try to establish a more a realistic context, and that establishes mutual understanding as well. So
But you are
taking a step
speaking
back.
like a wise person already.
Oh, okay, that's.
I think it's a
Oh
very
no.
wise statement, okay? And if you are at that level, that means you have, I'm not sure if you see that positive or negative right now, you have matured quite a lot.
Okay.
So I think it's amazing, first of all, because
Thank
you
you,
bring the
Andreas.
if you bring the confidence to the table and you are able to step back and try to understand and respect other people's opinion, no matter what age group it is right now. It might be your peers, might be my age group, my peers overall. I think it's amazing. Not just breaking through and I'm the right one and push, powering it through.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a question for you
There's a
specifically.
question. Do you think more of young peers are more idealistic, and then find out? That's a great question, Sharm. And I think I resonate to this as well. Um, I guess yes, to an extent, yes, we are idealistic. Because, like I said, we as young people, we are very hungry for knowledge, and there are just so many changes that are happening simultaneously, and we are trying our very best to keep on par so that we are not left behind. And this fear of feeling left behind is one of the driving factors that always makes us to want to be on top, and to keep up. But unknowingly, when this happens, we achieve a state of burnout, and then we realize that everything is not as rosy as it seems, and we take a step back again, and then we see things differently and try to understand, be grounded to what really is. And that's how I think they come to a realization, right, that it's okay to sometimes not know everything and not have everything, but be present in what is going on, and really be compassionate with themselves to know that they are enough. And sometimes to realize, be aware of this takes time, and it takes a lot of time. And it's not an easy process, because I think it's the little ego context in us as well. It takes courage to be aware and to come up with that realization in order to be fully present. Yeah. I hope
I
we.
think I think it's a great answer you delivered, and I think to really put that. But now I'm alone here. I put it into perspective. What I would like to say is really the following. If we bring you see, the world is in a very bad place. Climate change and all that stuff. Okay, and who destroyed it actually? The economic development, baby boomers. But on the other hand, also we are living in the best time ever. We have everything. So I think it's not so much about Gen Ylers and baby boomers who's right and who's wrong, but it's about really taking the energy that you do have and maybe the experience that we do have as baby boomers, putting that together and see how can we help the world get to a better spot altogether. So that Mother Earth, so to speak, gets healthier as well. And we have many, many, many more hundreds of years to go together. That's what I believe as well needs to happen along that line. Hey, bring me back together, just me, okay?
Awesome.
I just wanted to move around so that the people see we are still here and that whether they are still, watching us. And I see so many comments coming in, but I have to head to Farida to the Everest conversation, the second part. So I have to close this conversation. But it was so amazing to see you. Everyone is saying that you should do this more often because you are such a good pair. I mean, you made such a good
Yay.
dynamism, the
Co-moderators.
two of you. Yes, you were super good together. I'm really happy that we did this, and thank you for
Thank you, yeah, for
collaborating
putting
on
that
this.
together.
Honored too, Andrea.
Yeah,
Being
it's
here.
beautiful, and we had so many. Thank you very much, Angela, Sharm, Jag, for continuously being here and listening and really being part of the conversation, because that's what we aim to do, to bring people in the conversation and hear that you hear. Also, Cheryl, thank you very much for jumping in. Kenyatta was also here, so you can see that it's Ambreen was here. So everyone from around the group that we created is here and supporting each other, and that's so beautiful to see. And I really love that the conversation, the dynamism, the topic itself. I mean, I was checking what was so hype in the 80s because I wanted to, compare, because we are all from different generation. I was like, yeah, I was walking with a Walkman. I don't know whether Jassmine knows a Walkman or
Oh, I have one actually, Andrea.
Or the baby
the
boom.
reporter.
Remember the boombox, Andrea? Like,
Oh,
do you
yes.
remember the boombox?
And as I was playing on Commodore 64. That was my first computer, and we had to rewind the tape when you wanted to play with a game. You had to rewind it to a specific part on the cassette because.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like so different. I mean, we just have to really talk more. Arman had a Walkman too. Hi, Arman.
Hey, Arman, is it my Arman? Yay!
Yay, from
Hi,
Australia, yes. So thank you, guys. I have to head to the other conversation. It was really, really, everyone had a Walkman.
Now the Walkmans come up here, okay?
So we close with this. Yes, everyone had a Walkman. And thank you very much. Beautiful conversation. We will see each
Thank
other
you.
soon on other parts. Andreas will
course.
come back with a conversation interview and also with a workshop. And Jassmine, we will also see her for a panel discussion. And it's really, really happy to see you all. Hi, Arman. Thank you for supporting.
Thank you. It was really great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you,
By
guys.
so fast, actually. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think you should do more. You should do more, definitely.
All right.
So bye, guys. Hi for the
Bye.
audience. Thank you for the support.